What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos. Today's a little bittersweet. As excited as I am to share this deck profile with you, we actually unfortunately lost Chris Ayres a couple of days ago. He was suffering from COPD, which is something with the lungs. After getting a lung transplant and, progressively getting better, he did kind of start declining again, and unfortunately we lost him a couple of nights ago on the 18th, I believe. Now, I didn't know Chris Ayres personally. I do know some people in the community who did. Shout out to Evan Glover, as well as some other content creators, Geekdom 101 specifically. Chris Ayres did a phenomenal job voice acting and bringing a voice to Frieza. I wasn't so happy with the change. I was very much captivated by Linda Young's performance in the original Dragon Ball Z anime, and when they decided to change it and go with Chris Ayres for Kai, I was kind of upset, about it. But Chris Ayres, he blew that performance out of the water, and he is the voice that I hear in my head when I hear Frieza now, and he brought ownership to that role, and he made it his own, and I want to thank him for doing that and representing him as a character in Dragon Ball Super as well as Dragon Ball Kai. And also now Damon Mills is voicing Frieza, or he has voiced Frieza, I think towards the end of Dragon Ball Super as well as in the Kakarot video game. He does a phenomenal job, somewhat mimicking Chris Ayres' voice style, but he's definitely got some big shoes to fill, so I wish him the best of luck. But it's sad when we lose somebody in the community, or when we lose somebody that we're familiar with, but we have to move on, and we have to stay positive, and we have to keep pursuing our passions just like Chris Ayres did himself. So with that being said, I kind of want to go over the SS4 HellKu deck that I've been working with. If you guys tuned into the stream over the weekend, you probably saw a little bit of gameplay. I do apologize for how bad I piloted the deck. It just was not as optimal of a build as I should have been playing. And instead of kind of just butchering the play style and doing subpar commentary on a very lackluster performance, I decided to kind of go back to the drawing board and test a couple of things out, make some changes, and try to highlight what this deck does well. So I do apologize for sounding a little bit nasally. I am a bit under the weather, and some good news on the horizon. This weekend I will be putting back together my recording studio / room, so I'll be able to have a nice, area to make content for you guys more consistently, since all the repairs and everything from the flooding has completed. I just have to clean everything up and kind of reorganize everything. So, hopefully that's something that we can all look forward to. So what does this guy do? Okay, so on the front we have Son Goku. This is obviously from the GT era. Super 17 Saga. We have Son Goku on the front. He's a 10k attacker, auto once per turn. When this card attacks, draw a card. Or actually, it's not once per turn. It just says auto when this card attacks, draw a card. So if there's a way to restand the leader, you could attack again and draw. If you have 2 or more energy, when a yellow battle card is revealed from the top of your deck, placed in your drop area, and played by that card's skill, you may flip this card over. If you do, draw 1 card, switch up to 1 of your energy to active mode, then add cards from your life to your hand until you have 5 life left. It's an alternative awakening skill, which is nice, and then his regular awaken is when you're at 4 or less, you can flip over and draw 2 cards. So, pretty interesting. This deck kind of reminds me of, for those of you who played Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's kind of like a Light Sworn deck. You're kind of milling stuff into the graveyard or the drop area and then playing it out of there with skills. And then once you're awakened, you become SS4 Son Goku Returned from Hell. Hence why everybody's calling him HellKu. He's a 15k attacker. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 2 cards. Then choose 1 card from your hand, place it on top of your deck, and this card gets 5k power for the battle. So it's nice. It's a 20k swing, which is really nice. And he does have the ability of stacking the deck, which is basically what this whole strategy is about. Activate main, add up to 1 Android 18 Defender of Heroes from your deck to your hand. Shuffle your deck, then choose 1 card in your hand. Place it on top of your deck, negate the skills for the game. So Android 18 is the unison of choice for this strategy. So once per game, you can go ahead and fetch it, which is really nifty. And you know, when you need it in a pinch, it's nice to be able to search it. Activate main once per turn, Spirit Boost 1. Reveal the top card of your deck and place it in your drop area. So it's nice because even though this deck works in conjunction with a Unison and a Spirit Boost mechanic, the leader can go ahead and trigger those abilities himself, which is really nice. So as far as the cards in the deck, right, I tried focusing on archetype specific stuff, and I did myself a disservice because I included a majority of the archetype cards thinking that that's what I needed to get the deck rolling. But then I realized there's a few key highlights that you want to include, and then just kind of keep the other ones off to the side and you know, filter the deck or add filler with just some good yellow cards. So first card I want to go over, we're playing 4 Android 18 Defender of Heroes. She's a 4K attacking unison. She's 1 specified yellow. Auto once per turn when you remove a marker from this card using Spirit Boost. You can choose one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. That comes in handy. +2, activate main. Look at the top 3 cards from the top. Look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck and place them in your deck in any order. So she's the ability of stacking the deck to make sure that you have, you know, a card that has the ability of playing itself once it's milled from the drop area. And then -2, active main, draw 3 cards and choose 2 cards in your hand and place them on top of your deck in any order. So it's just a +1 there. You get to see new cards and just kind of filter things out that way. You know, being a 4K unison, she's gonna get swung at consistently, so make sure that, I would say, you don't always have to just windmill slam her onto the table. You want to play her as effective as possible, and this is probably one of the unisons where you don't want to charge extra copies or you don't want to feed extra copies just to gain 1 marker. So just keep that in mind because she does help forward your strategy. We are playing 2 Frieza Army Reinforcements. You know, these block counters are just really good right now, especially since when you awaken, you put yourself at 5. So Frieza Army can put yourself down to 4. It basically stops 2 attacks, you know, with the counter and then bringing out the blocker. So that's just kind of self-explanatory in my opinion. Each color should probably be playing 1 or 2 main boarded if it was up to me. We're playing 3 Power Super Saiyan, just a really good, powerful yellow staple. Allows you to manipulate your opponent's board, put cards in rest mode, and that way you can deal with them. Also, defensively, it is a counter attack for 1, but a lot of people forget that. And when you do use the Activate Battle skill, as long as you have a yellow energy open, you don't have to pay cost for it, and you do get to draw a card. It's just a really good card in my opinion. So Trip to Hell. This is probably the best card in the deck. This kind of gets you rolling. It's a 0 cost extra card, but you have to pay 1 yellow for the activate main. If your leader card is a yellow Son Goku GT, you can draw 2 cards. Then you can choose 1 card in your hand, place it on the top of your deck, then reveal the top card of your deck and place it in your drop area. So by itself, it already kind of fulfills the whole requirement for milling and playing out of the drop area. You kind of want to mulligan for these as soon as possible with, I guess we'll call them one of your flippers. You want to have a Trip to Hell and one of your, you know, your flippers as early as possible so that you can awaken and just start steamrolling and snowballing out of control from there. So Trip to Hell is really nice. It does also have an activate main, which you're rarely going to resolve just because the first activate main is so good, but in a pinch you do have this ability. Activate main limit 1. If your leader card is a yellow Son Goku GT and you have 3 or more energy, you can just reveal the top card of your deck and place it in the drop area. So you don't have to pay any energy for that. It is free. It is a limit 1 hard once per turn. But it does go ahead and gets you stuff into the drop area so you can play it. You're constantly going to know what's on the top of your deck. That is the whole point of this deck. It is one of the more difficult decks to pilot, in my opinion. If you're looking for a challenging experience, I definitely recommend this because it does make you think. It's definitely not brain dead. You definitely have to know what you're doing and where everything is at all times. But if you can play it successfully, it is very, very rewarding. We are playing 1 Swift Retaliation Cooler, I feel like it's a yellow staple. Counter for 3 energy, gets to draw you a card. You know, if you're trying to push in for late game damage or push in for your final turn swing, you know, it's definitely a card that you want to have it stopped your opponent's, you know, last ditch effort for defense. We're playing 3 Vegeta Prideful Transformation. These are live turn 1. However, it's not the main focus defensively. Normally, obviously, if you're playing green or blue, you're playing 4 of your counterplays. You know, you can make the argument for Yamcha being red. You might want to play like 3 or 4 of those. But Vegeta Powerful Transformation, you know, he's okay because he does put stuff in rest mode instead of it being played. You know, it gets played in rest mode instead of being playing active mode. But he's only a 14k attacker, so you're going to be just chumping off weenies and, you know, maybe using him defensively as a blocker, which is nice because you get to defend your unison. But having your counterplay turned on early and just kind of stopping your opponent's play early if you're able to combo it out that way is pretty nice, seeing that Android 18 is just a 1-drop and she'll go to 3 markers right away. So that's why I play him. We're playing 4 of Self-Restraint Super Saiyan Goku and 4 SS4 Son Goku the Brawler. So these are the 2 most important cards in your deck as far as meeting your requirements on your flipping mechanic. The Brawler, the SS4 Brawler, is basically your aggressive card. When he's flipped into the drop area, you can play him out for 1 energy. He's a 20k double striker with deflect. And when he comes into play, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. Hence why it's important to have your opponent's stuff in rest mode with cards like Power of Super Saiyan, Powerful Transformation, and of course, you know, Self-Restraint. So Self-Restraint is the 19k attacker. He is a blocker. He has similar skills, but similar play requirements. When you flip him into the drop area, you play 1 energy to play him. He also comes into play, draws you a card, then you take a card out of your hand, put it on top of your deck, and you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. So it is really nice to facilitate that strategy. You definitely want to sequence it properly. If your opponent has a threat on board that you want to get rid of, obviously if it doesn't have barrier, you can just switch it into rest mode and just try to beat over it. Or if you want to go ahead and be able to get one of your SS4 Brawlers into play, you can go ahead and pop that card. So it's just one of those nice little nifty combinations that you can use. A 19k attacker is really nice, but also having the abilities of being a 19k blocker is also going to keep your stuff alive for much longer. We are playing the best card in the deck. We're playing 2 Son Goku, Return of Dragon Fist. This is your win con, essentially. He's a deflect 20k double strike. Auto, when this card is played, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO them. So that's really nice. Spot removal for yellow. Activate main for 3 yellow energy. If you have 4 or more energy and a yellow unison card in play, you can play this card from your hand. So you play him for 3 as long as you have 18 out and you have 4 energy. Activate main once per turn. Spirit Boost 2, so you're removing 2 markers off of 18. If your leader card is mono yellow, this card gains dual attack for the turn, and your opponent can't activate skills on battle cards with an original energy cost of 7 or less from any area when this card is in battle. So what does that mean? Basically, when you bring this guy out, he's a 25k double strike dual attacker with deflect, so he's gonna stick. He doesn't have barrier, so if there's some type of a removal, he does get around Charismatic Villain because he's an 8-drop. But when he activates his Spirit Boost skill, essentially your opponent can't super combo and they can't body counter. So because they can't activate skills on battle cards in any areas when he's attacking, they're not going to be able to super combo off of the auto and draw. And if you're playing 0 cost, 0 combo power super combos that gain the 10k through the auto, they will just straight be 0/0s. If you're playing like a printed 10k super combo, you'll get the 10k combo power, but you won't get to draw the card off the auto. And same thing goes for body counters. You won't be able to, you know, tap 1 to negate with like a Roshi or a Videl or anything like that comes into play, simply because it's, you know, it's a skill states that it can't activate stuff like that. Now, I'm not exactly sure how counterplays work. It does have deflect, but I'm assuming you could still activate counterplay timing cards, like Zamasu the Eliminator. You could probably still activate Zamasu in response, because Zamasu's auto is what taps down battle cards and puts them in rest mode, not part of the counterplay. So I think Zamasu would be able to come in at counterplay timing and deal with it. But that's a very specific situation that you need to worry about there. Other than that, this guy is great. Double strike, dual attack. He's doing 4 damage on his own. If your opponent is hoarding their super combos, or they have body counters in their hand that they're waiting to activate, they're not going to be able to do that. So definitely one of those cards. I think most yellow decks should be playing this because it's not leader tied. It is specifically generic to yellow, and it's a nice finisher, but we're going to have to see how the meta shifts with set 15. We're playing a 2-2 split of super combos. I know, kind of jumping around here, but we're playing 2 Krillins and 2 Zamasus. I was playing 4 Krillins at first, but Zamasu is just so good, being able to tap down leaders. If your opponent gets greedy and wants to attack with a unison or battle card first, you can go ahead and tap leaders down, and you can trigger other effects off of being able to resolve a Zamasu and put something in rest mode. Krillin is just your standard at 4 or less life, bottom deck a card, draw 2. So it's really nice because you're always gonna know what's on the top of your deck. So if you need to dig, if you know that you're gonna dig 2 cards off of Krillin, then you leave that last card there if you need to flip it into play off of drop area. So it's just really nice having that knowledge of what's going on. Probably one of the most important cards in the deck, I wouldn't say the most important, but definitely gets your engine started, is Trunks the Brawler. If your leader card is yellow, when this card is revealed from the top of your deck and placed in your drop area, you may play this card from your drop area. So again, he has that skill of being able to come into play after he's flipped into the drop, and then when this card is played, you can draw 1 card, and then you could put 1 card from your hand on top of your deck. So you're going even, but you're seeing a card that you might need, and you're putting something back so you can flip it into the drop area. But what makes him really good is his activate main. Once per turn, Spirit Boost. If your leader card is a yellow Son Goku GT, you can reveal a top card of your deck and place it in your drop area. So Trunks in combination with the leader, obviously once you're awakened, you're going to be able to Spirit Boost twice per turn and flip your guys into play. If you're not awakened, Trunks is a way of getting you awakened. If you have the unison out, this is probably like a turn 2 play. Flipping something into the drop area to go ahead and play it for the awaken. But then the longer Trunks sticks on the board, the more value he's going to accrue as the game continues, because he's just going to constantly Spirit Boost and flip your stuff into play, which is why it's important to always know what's on the top of your deck. So it's just a really nice facilitator there, a really nice way of getting stuff into the drop so that you can play it. We're playing 1 FTC. I mean, I think at this point, every deck should be playing at least 1 Further Instruction Champa or Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. Just that, 1K, a 10K combo for 1 energy. Double Strike is just really nice. It can help push late game. It can help push for wins if you need to. It's just a really nice card to have. We're playing 1 SS4 Bardock fighting against Fates. This card is just insane. 25K dual attack. After everything is said and done, once you've done everything that you need to do, and your opponent is like, okay, I survived the onslaught, you can just overwhelm this guy for 2 25K swings on top of any other combos or chompas you want to put on him. It's just really nice. Bergamo Ferocious Roar. He's limited to 1. You're in a yellow deck that has a lot of rest manipulation, so you might as well play this guy. I love playing him defensively. Like if I Zamasu and I tap down a card and I just tap 2 for Bergamo and tap 2 of their other cards and 2 of their energy, kind of slows your opponent down, and they won't be able to kind of plan around it. It's a 20K body on board. Doesn't really do anything else other than the tapping down of cards, but it's nice that you can choose any battle cards or energy ignoring barriers. So if there's a big problem, if it's a barrier problem that you can't deal with your brawlers, you can just go ahead and tap one of their cards down and swing over it if you need to. I think most yellow decks are playing Bergamo at 1 regardless. My secret rare of choice is Sin Shenron Negative Energy Incarnate, but you can play any secret rare here. You could play Supreme Kai of Time, you could play Heroine's Lineage, you can play the other Sin Shenron, you can play the Super Android 17, 18 Absorbed card. You can play a ton of different secret rares here in this slot. I just like Sin Shenron because it's one of the few secret rares that I own, and I like being able to play him for 1 energy. Basically what he does is he reduces his cost for every 1 drop that you have in your drop area to a minimum of 1. So you can play him for 1 yellow energy, which is nice, having a 35k attacker that you can have on the board. He's also a blocker, and when you activate your blocker skill, you just reduce his attack power by 5k and restand him. So he can constantly block if you want him to, or you could use him as just like a 1-drop 35k attacker. And his permanent says that he can't be removed from the battle area by your opponent's skills. So he's got some stayability. You know, if you play him for 1, you know, this and a Champa is a 45k double strike for 2 energy. So, I mean, that's just how I see it. Any other combos on top of that, it's just energy efficiency at its finest. So it's just one of those budget SCRs I like to play. We are playing 2 Putina Dark Sorcerer. I had her at 1 originally, but I think 2 is just the sweet spot. You want to be able to see her when you want to start resolving your rest effects, and just her, you know, being able to, you know, your opponent has to play around it. It's not the greatest card ever, but your opponent does have to play around it. And I do like the counter skill also. Like when your opponent activates a counter skill, you also get to resolve her effect. So it's not just when they play a battle card with a skill, it's if they try to negate something or they try to stop your plays, you get to kind of punish them for doing that, which is really nice. She's got barrier, so she's hard to deal with. You know, and she kind of deals with pesky situations where your opponent needs to further their strategies by cheating stuff out. So it's just one of those things I really like to use. Same thing with Bardock, Father and Son. This is one of the cards that I added in later on. He's just a free 15k attacker. As long as you have 3 energy, you can tap one of your opponent's battle cards and play him and play him, you know, from your hand for free. 15k attacker, pressure, triggers, you know, stuff like Bergamo. It just kind of messes with your opponent's board, which is what you want to do, because you want to clear them with the Brawler or you want to clear them with Dragon Fist. So it's just one of those other, you know, yellow tools that you can use for resting. 15k free pressure is not bad. So it's just one of those situations where, you know, if it's free, it's for me. 1 Secret Identity Massain. I love this card. I think this is probably one of the best overwhelms in the game. Being able to just play him for free as long as you have 6 and drop and just deal with the board, whether it's tokens or lots of 1-drops, you know. Yellow has always had an issue with spot removal, and I think Secret Identity Massain is just one of those great cards that you can utilize. The good thing about Secret Identity, obviously we're playing 2 different overwhelm targets with Secret Identity and Fighting Against Fate. You can Secret Identity early and then just Fighting Against Fate late if you really want to for your W. I mean, if you have to obviously, you know, answer what your opponent is doing. If they're going wide or if they're building a board and you want to fight for board, you know, Secret ID is going to be the better option. But if you're going to go ahead and make that late game push, then obviously you want Fighting Against Fate. But I like Secret ID. For board clear, we're playing Basil Fatal Rampage. This deck doesn't really have your prototypical turn 1 play. That's a hard plus. Trunks is not a hard plus. You go even. And Android 18, you don't really do anything. You're just going to kind of redo your top deck so that you can flip and awaken hopefully next turn. But Basil is a hard +1, and you know, it's not bad for if you're on the draw, you have a play, you just play him and then you go ahead off next turn with your Unison and Trip to Hells or whatnot. Just, you know, draw 1 is always good. And if he sticks on the board and, you know, you can resolve his activate main to make him a 19k dual attacker, you can just kind of clear off their weenies or whatever, or you can go ahead and use him as a push for pressure. So I don't mind playing Basil. I was thinking about including Unite Assemble, but I don't think this is the right deck for that strategy. We're playing 3 Panda Brawlers. Obviously she's limit 1, so you don't want to max out on these too much because you won't be able to resolve multiples. She is a 5k blocker. When she's flipped from the top of the deck into the drop area, she comes out for free. She can also you can also give your leader critical for the turn, so that's really nice, making it a 20k crit swing. You're denying your opponent resources. This is also another trigger for your awakened condition early because it's flipped into the drop area and played for free, whereas the SS4 Brawler and the SS Super Saiyan Kid Goku require 1 energy to be played. So it's just another target for that ability. Not, you know, being able to give your leader crit isn't too bad. Obviously you have to have 2 or more energy, but you want to make sure that you have targets to resolve so that you can awaken as early as possible. So we're just playing 3 Pans. There are other brawlers and other cards that you can play in the archetype. There's a Goten, there's a Gohan, there's a Vegeta. They're just not that good. I tested them, trust me, they're not that good. We're playing 2 Flying Nimbus. I don't own Frieza Mechanical Riposte. If you do own them, that's probably the floodgate that you want to play.
But I'm playing 2 Nimbus because I don't think Nimbus is that bad. You know, for 1 energy, pitch a card, you know, stop, you know, getting swarmed from your opponent. Not too bad, in my opinion. And of course, he does trigger the Sin Shenron Secret Rare because it is a 1-drop. And the last card we already talked about, Zamasu, Sacred Disbelief, as your multicolor stripper combo. So this is just kind of it, in my opinion. You know, shout out to Kaio Chris. And who's the other guy that I saw? His deck profile was really good. The content creator's name is escaping me right now, but I did peep a couple of videos just to get some inspiration, maybe from other people that have been testing it, and I kind of tweaked it and went from there. I don't think this is going to be the final build. We're obviously getting a lot of nice yellow tools in set 15. You know, with the Turles and the Goku, so this deck might change, but it's definitely an archetype that I could see getting support down the line in later sets, and it's a really interesting mechanic. It's something different. You know, Vegex is similar but different at the same time. If you're looking for a challenging deck to play that's going to reward you for being smart and knowing exactly what's going on and controlling the situation, you know, I definitely recommend giving this deck a shot. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and please hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything No Counters, No Combos. We really do appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be square.